And now, Backstage Wife, the story of Mary Noble and what it means to be the wife of a famous star. When wealthy Rupert Barlow, the financial backer of Larry's present Broadway play, became infatuated with Mary Noble, he devoted all his attention to winning her over and ignored the reactions of Julia Dixon, who for 10 years has been looking after his Long Island estate at Oyster Bay, waiting for him to marry her as he had promised. But recently, while Julia was in Bermuda, she became acquainted with a handsome young man named Oliver Wilson who professes to love her dearly. And so now Julia has brought him for a visit to the States, to stay in Rupert's home. Right now, in his wood-paneled library, Rupert is saying to Julia Dixon,
"You've chosen the worst possible time to bring that young upstart here for a visit. Just when I'm preoccupied with my own troubles."
You're always preoccupied with your own troubles, Rupert. And it's always been another woman. Well, what do you expect me to do? Wait for the rest of my life for you to keep your promise to me?
I can't understand what's come over you, Julia. You're simply not yourself since you took that beastly trip to Bermuda.
On the contrary, I am myself for the first time in years. I've suddenly waked up. I've begun to realize that I have some pride left. I'm not going to be taken for granted like a comfortable pair of old shoes. I won't have it, Rupert.
That's very ugly talk coming from you, Julia. If you think that you can force me to give in to every little whim of yours,
Oh, nothing of the kind, Rupert. I have no intention of trying to force you to do anything. I know how hopeless that would be.
Then just what is all this talk?
Just that I'm not going to throw the next 10 years of my life away, as I've done for the past.
You're talking in riddles, Julia. Just what is it you are planning to do?
Well, I'll leave that to your imagination. It's always been very active, my dear. Perhaps you can figure it out.
Oh, now, see here, Julia. You're not going to do anything rash or foolish. You're not going to let this young, blonde idiot talk you into running away with him, are you?
Would it matter so much to you if I did, Rupert, dear?
Well, of course it would matter. Hang it all, how do you expect me to get along if you leave me? I'm utterly dependent on you, and you know it perfectly well.
But you have so many other women who'd give their souls to take my job over, just on the off chance of becoming Mrs. Rupert Barlow.
Oh, don't talk nonsense, Julia. This is serious.
I'm quite serious.
You know perfectly well that I'm having my difficulties with Claudia Vincent right now. That I'm at my wit's end to know what to do about her. And yet you take this time to bring up all this nonsense about yourself.
It is selfish of me, isn't it, darling? Oh, but what do you expect? Should I go to Claudia Vincent and tell her that she mustn't worry you? That she should leave the Noble's house in Rosehaven at once because her presence there might give your precious Mary the wrong idea about you? Would you like that?
You're very unpleasant about this whole thing, Julia. I did think I could count on you to understand. Claudia Vincent is nothing but a scheming fortune hunter. She thinks she can bully me into paying her off just to keep still. Now she's got that fool Larry Noble convinced that I actually stole her family fortune.
Well, after all, there is some basis for her stand, isn't there, Rupert? You did treat Claudia and her mother rather shabbily.
I did nothing of the sort. They practically forced me to invest their silly capital for them. And I did as they asked. When it turned out badly, they tried to blame me. It's as simple as that.
And now you're doing the same thing to Larry Noble. Is that right?
I don't care to hear any more about this, Julia. My business deal with Larry Noble is none of your affair.
But you hope it'll promote a more personal interest in the elusive heart of Larry's wife.
What? Your manner is most unpleasant this evening, Julia.
That's because you've driven me to it, Rupert. All the years I've been patient and devoted are years that I can never find again. Don't you think it's high time I started thinking about my own future?
Future? You speak about your future? With that young idler, Oliver Wilson, you brought back from Bermuda?
Oliver Wilson is a dear, sensitive young man, and he's devoted to me. Don't you expect me to find that rather gratifying, after being taken for granted all this time by you?
Oh, Julia, he's young enough to be your son.
You keep saying that, but it isn't true. You're just being spiteful because I have an admirer. Do you want me to answer that?
No. I'll see who it is.
Very well.
Hello?
Hello, is that you, Rupert?
Yes. Who is this?
It's Mary Noble.
What? Mary, my dear. How perfectly wonderful to hear your voice. I was beginning to think that you'd turned against me completely.
Well, of course not, Rupert. I'm sure you don't mean that for a minute.
Indeed I do. I haven't so much as had a word from you since you and Larry stormed out of here with Claudia in tow.
I know. We've been rather busy in one way or another.
And just how is Claudia Vincent? Is she making herself agreeable in your home, my dear?
She's... Rupert, I don't want to talk about it over the phone.
Of course, my dear. I fully understand.
We're having the most difficult time. Larry and Claudia have left now. Gone to New York for Larry's performance of the play.
Who did you say?
Larry and Claudia.
Do you mean to say she's going back and forth to the theater with him? I warned you about that woman, Mary.
I know, and... Rupert, I'd like to talk to you. It's rather important.
Well, of course, my dear. When?
I was wondering if you were busy this evening.
Not at all. Not in the least busy.
I'd offer to drive over there, but you see, Larry has the car. If you could manage to come over here for a little while, I'd appreciate it very much.
Well, there's nothing I'd rather do, my dear. I'm practically on my way.
Thank you, Rupert. I do appreciate it.
Oh, not at all. It's my pleasure. I'll see you in a very short time.
Fine. Goodbye, Rupert.
Goodbye, my dear. I'll be right there.
So, she's taken to calling you here again. Well, how nice for you, Rupert. How terribly sweet. And, of course, you're absolutely goggle-eyed when she calls. You can't wait to rush to her side.
Julia, please. I've got no time for bickering. I must be leaving at once.
Rupert.
Please, Julia. This is very important. Perhaps it's what I've been waiting for. Who knows?
And in New York, as Larry Noble and Claudia Vincent arrive at the Hamilton Theater just off Broadway, we hear...
Here's your ticket, Claudia. It's well down front, so you'll be able to watch Sheila very carefully in the performance.
Oh, thank you, darling. Sweet of you to give me one of the house seats.
Oh, nonsense. But I've got to go now.
Oh, Larry, it isn't curtain time yet.
I know, but I have to get to my dressing room and get my makeup on. Change my clothes.
Of course. I'm being selfish. But I'm so excited, Larry. It's almost as if the whole thing was settled already.
Oh, just don't count your chickens, Claudia. This is only the beginning.
Oh, but you do think I could learn the part and do it very well. Oh, Larry, you honestly believe that, don't you?
Yes, of course, Claudia.
I mean, you aren't just trying to build up my poor little bruised ego, are you? Trying to help me get a start?
Look, Claudia, if you think that I'd risk upsetting a show that's doing sellout business just as a passing gesture, you're quite wrong. This play is extremely important to my future. You have no idea how important it is. So, just keep that in mind.
Oh, that does reassure me. All right, darling. I won't keep you out here at the stage door, but, well, I had to know. I had to be reassured.
All right, now you know. You keep your eye on Sheila. Watch every move, every bit of business. She's as clever as she can be. And our producer, Harold Ramsey, thinks she's tops. So the closer you can come to copying Sheila's performance, the better chance you'll have to replace her, if Ramsey should decide to let her out of her contract.
Oh, I'll watch, Larry. I'm going to show you that your confidence in me wasn't a mistake. I'm going to show you in every way I know how.
Fine. Well,
Oh, Larry, just one thing more.
Now, what? I really must get to my dressing room, Claudia.
I know, but this is just a simple question. Do you think it might be possible to tell Sheila about this plan?
Oh, no, I don't think we'd better even mention it. It'd be dangerous for anyone to find out. Word might get around town, and then there'd be the devil to pay.
But if your leading lady is so anxious to get out of a contract, if she wants to marry and go to Europe with her husband, well, wouldn't she be glad to know that you were trying to help her? I mean, don't you think she'd do everything she could to promote my interest with your producer, Mr. Ramsey?
Well, now you mention it, Claudia, you may have something there.
I'm sure of it, Larry. Would it be too awful to ask her to go someplace with us after the theater, just to talk this over?
No, I'll ask her. I'll see if she's free.
Good. Good. I'm sure she'll be on our side, darling, if she just knew how we were planning to help her.
Larry smiles with amusement as he considers Claudia Vincent's words. Then he hurries on inside the stage door and on to his dressing room. Be sure to be listening tomorrow to Backstage Wife, the story of Mary Noble and her husband Larry Noble, famous Broadway stars.